All right, good evening and welcome to the 3-Minute Thesis. I'm going to be your MC tonight. I am Rosemary Ward. I'm the Associate Dean of the Graduate School. Before we get started with the judges, I want to just remind you of a couple of things. There is a chat function here, and we have the chat function set up if you want to cheer on our students. They're listed as panelists, so you can mention or send them a chat so that they can see it. Also remember that you are muted and your video is off too. We have that kind of by design, so be patient for that. But we will have each panelist go, each student, and give a presentation. But before we get started and introduce our students and our judges, I want to welcome Dean Michael Crowder, who's going to tell you a little bit about the 3-Minute Thesis and our new donor for the project. So I'm going to turn it over to you, Mike.
Okay, thank you, Rosemary. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. My name is Mike Crowder, and I'm Dean of the Graduate School. I wanted to welcome everyone to the final round of the 3-Minute Thesis competition at Miami University. The 3MT was started at Miami in 2014, and we have been able to hear amazing students tell us about their incredible thesis or dissertation work. The 3MT was started at the University of Queensland in 2008 when a drought had hit Australia and residents were asked to take 3-minute showers. To time themselves, they actually put egg timers into the shower so they didn't run over the 3-minute time limit. The dean of the graduate school at that time, Alan Lawson, thought that discussing one's thesis and dissertation could also be done in 3 minutes, and that's where the 3MT started. Today, over 900 universities in 85 countries host a 3MT competition. The ability to briefly explain an 80,000-word thesis or dissertation in 3 minutes is a skill that is valuable for a person to have. It is very similar to the elevator talk that we hear people in business mention frequently. Communication skills are very important to the success of our students and alums throughout their careers, and developing communication skills is an important professional development goal of the graduate school at Miami. Given the importance of developing strong communication skills, I am pleased to announce that the 3MT competition at Miami has been endowed and will be conducted well into the future, thanks to the generous contribution of Dr. Guang Jiang and Hongyan Tang. Dr. Jiang and Tang have endowed the 3MT in honor of Professor Gerald H. Sanders, who was the chair of the Department of Commerce from 1981 to 1992. During this time, Jirong earned his master's degree in communication in 1990. Dr. Sanders passed away in 2018. Jirong earned his master's, as I said, in communications in 1990, and then went on to earn his PhD from Cornell in 1995. Jirong now is the managing director and vice chairman of Asia BCMA, which is part of Citibank Corporation. So we're pleased today to be hosting the 3MT competition at Miami University in memory and honor of Professor Gerald H. Sanders. Good luck, students.
So our 3-minute thesis, just like Dean Crowder said, is something that many schools do. And our students who finish first will end up going on to our regional competition where they will have another opportunity to go for prizes. What prizes are we talking about? Well, our 3-minute thesis comes with a cash prize. All university policies apply, but for first place, our student gets $1,000. Our second place student gets $750, and our third place student gets $500. But this is where you come in as an audience member. And there's 159 audience members right now. 159 people, you guys get to vote for your people's choice, and that person also gets $1,000. All university policies apply from that. Our judges, though, will be selecting our first, second, and third place students. So I'm going to first introduce our judges. The first one we have is a brand new dean to Miami University. This is Dean Jenny DeRoche. She is the newly selected dean of the Farmer Business School. She earned her doctorate in marketing from the University of Ontario in New Zealand. She has a master's of commerce degree at the University of Auckland and a bachelor's degree from Massey University and the University of Waikato, all in New Zealand, which is her native country. I can't wait to visit there when this is over. She moved to the United States in 2004, and she's bringing her passion for bringing together business leaders from around the globe, which is really translating into a lot of the initiatives going on in the Farmer Business School. So welcome, Dean DeRoche. The next judge we have is Dean Denise Telefero Bazile, who is the dean of my home college. She has a PhD from Louisiana State University. She is the interim dean of Education, Health, and Society. Her research focuses in on curriculum as racial gendered text with an emphasis on disrupting traditional models of knowledge production. Her scholarship draws on curriculum theory, critical race theory, and Black feminist theory. Please welcome Dean Denise. Our next judge is Matt Redder, who got his MBA from Miami. He is a retired process engineer whose work experiences include Haas, GE, aircraft engines, and Mallikarachchi. Matt Redder loves technology of all kinds and is currently the owner of a real estate development company called RPM. So please welcome Matt. And our final judge, we like to have one of our judges also represent our student population. So last year, Nethmi did an amazing job as we turned the 3MT online. And so Nethmi joins us. She is a fifth-year student, PhD student in the Konkolowitz group in the Department of Chemistry and Biochemistry. Her dissertation work is called Designing Tailor-Made Materials Tuned Through Dynamic Chemistries and Macromolecular Architecture. And like I said, last year, she knows what this is like. She knows how to give this presentation online. And Nethmi joins us. So please welcome Nethmi as one of our judges. Please welcome our first student. We have Chamithi, who is a student in chemistry. Her advisor is Dr. Rick Page, and she is looking at the nature's miracle about how proteins fold. It tells us about the power of chemistry to observe nature and influence health. Let's welcome Chamithi, our first finalist.
Origami of misfolded protein. When I was about 10 years old, I witnessed my uncle's passing right before my eyes, few years into his diagnosis with Parkinson's disease, even though I did not know at the time this was caused by clumps of proteins. In order for a protein to fulfill their destiny or function properly, they have to have a particular three-dimensional shape or structure. How do cells achieve these shapes? It's via a controlled process called protein folding. You might wonder, if it's a controlled process, how is it even possible to get these problematic clumps? To understand this, imagine that you are making a paper crane. You might rush through it, skip ahead, misinterpret the instructions, miss steps, all of which lead to a disastrous paper crane at the very end. Cells are the same. They might misread the instructions in genetic material. Cells stress out too, especially when they lack oxygen. All this lead to a weirdly shaped protein or a misfolded protein that can come together to form clumps of proteins. These are bad news because they are toxic to the cells and lead to neurodegenerative diseases like Parkinson's disease, even cancer and heart failure. You might be wondering whether the cells have defensive mechanisms against this. Yes, they actually do, and that is where my research comes in. We study a combination of proteins, namely HSP70 and CHIP, that come together to determine the fate of a misfolded proteins. They basically run the triage for misfolded proteins. But we don't still know how they run the triage or the mechanism of action. To find answers, we have designed a set of proteins with incrementing susceptibility or chance to get misfolded. To put it simply, we mix them together with CHIP and HSP70 to see how they behave. Even though we are not quite there yet to fully understand the mechanism, I am very excited because upon the completion of this project, we will be one step closer to solve the mysteries behind the above mentioned disease. Thank you.
Our next presenter, Karen, is in an MSA of Experience Design. Her advisor is Zach Tucker. And when we asked her about why she chose Miami, she got a taste of Miami through the IMS certificate and just went on to keep creating different places of belonging. And that's how she's using her degree. So our next presenter, Karen again, is in our MFA in Experience Design. She's going to talk to you about some of the things she's doing with her research. So I'm going to turn this over to Karen. Welcome, Karen.
Thank you. Think of a place where you feel totally welcome, somewhere you go and instantly feel like you belong. Where is this place? What does it look like, sound like, smell like? Who's there with you? What are you doing, saying, making, eating, or drinking? Many of us are lucky to have a workplace where we work and a home where we unwind. And lately, of course, these two places have merged into one. But what we're finding, and now more than ever, is that we need more than home on the one hand and work on the other. We need a third space to talk, plan, organize, innovate, collaborate, and create. What if we could design this place together? My research looks at the agency people have, regular people like you and me, to create places of belonging in our lives. These are real places that are built and used by real people every day. Places like bookstores, cafes, coffee shops, libraries, pubs, and public parks. But more and more people are starting to think outside the box. These places can be pop-up destinations in the middle of a public park. They can be bike hubs or community gardens. I used a mixed methods approach to work with a small Northern Michigan community. What I found is that people need three things when it comes to creating these public places. First, people need to feel empowered to create them. Second, people need to feel able to create them. And third, people need one another to create them. These three needs go hand in hand. A sense of empowerment comes from the ownership people feel about the places where we live, work, and play. Our diverse abilities flourish when we have access to the places and services that support our collective well-being. And we can't go it alone. We need one another to embark on any project for the general public to access and enjoy. We need to design together. In this spirit, I worked with a small Northern Michigan community where I belong to co-design a digital platform. This platform is a creative and practical place where people can gather to make their own space, a space where they belong. It's a wiki, so you and your team can sketch out ideas and plan out places where people will want to explore and even contribute. Plus, it's accessible to everyone through community partnerships. So think back to that place where you belong. How would you recreate that place for more people to experience? How would your community grow and even reimagine itself in your third space? What makes it so special? Thank you.
Excellent job, Karen. Thank you so much for that and that sense of belonging. Our next presenter said when she was thinking about Oxford, something that she loved, although we're not seeing a lot of this today, is she loved the snow. Because where she's from, there's not a lot of seasons. And so snow, as she said, it was super cool. So I would like you to help me welcome Sadeepa, who is our next student from the chemistry department. Her advisor is Ann Hagerman. She's going to talk to us a little bit about the properties of tannin, but she also loves the snow. So please welcome Sadeepa.
If you are one of us who love either coffee, tea, wine, or maybe chocolate, I'm sure you must have heard the word antioxidants at some point. Antioxidants catch and destroy harmful agents known as radicals that are the underlying cause of many diseases like cancers, heart diseases, diabetes, infections, and especially the process of aging. Now, what would excite the humankind more than the idea of preventing, or more realistically, delaying the process of aging? Won't you be excited if someone told you that your favorite beverage can save you while still satisfying your taste buds? In our lab, we study one of the most abundant and beneficial natural antioxidants called tannin. Most plants, including tea, coffee, and cocoa, produce plenty of healthy tannins. This beautiful molecule made up of several rings tend to aggregate or cluster in solution. In doing so, its natural qualities tend to deviate in ways that have not been identified clearly yet. As a part of my PhD thesis, I want to investigate the patterns of clustering and how different conditions affect the whole process of clustering. Will they form chains like snakes or globules like footballs? Will snakes or footballs be better in protecting us from harmful radicals, or will they both make the activity of our molecules worse instead of making it better? Now imagine a group of guards that protects a village from wild animals that can't wait to prey on the innocent villagers. If these guards can't focus, or if they don't have the right weapons, they can't do their job. They can't protect their village. Tannins are just like these guards that protect our body. No matter how clever, efficient, and precious our molecule is, if it gets distracted by other molecules or clustered in different conditions, it might not be able to protect our body. Understanding the process of aggregation allows us to empower our molecule to be better guards and to look out for wild beasts like cancer or tiny viruses and bacteria that are looking to make us sick. Other than that, this knowledge will also be applied in soil ecology, environmental protection, drug discovery, cosmetics, food, and wine industry. In my project, I'm using a number of different analytical tools to investigate ways to preserve or perhaps even enhance the glorious health benefits in the cup of tea or coffee you have on your desk right now. And my goal is to make the best of tannin, nature's incredible gift to humankind, and thereby help you stay healthier and maybe even younger. Thank you.
Thank you. That was great. I really appreciate that as I drink my tea. I love it. So you might be curious, what is graduate school like at Miami? Well, our graduate programs each establish a community. And one of my favorite parts of that community is what the architecture program does. Is every year, the graduate students in the architecture department actually have a dessert party. And one year I was actually invited to judge it, which felt really weird, but it was awesome because they had desserts from all over the world that they brought. And our next presenter actually made a pudding at last year's dessert party. So our next presenter is Anindita, who is in architecture and interior design. Her advisor is John Reynolds, and she's going to talk to us about different structures. So please welcome Anindita.
A couple of years ago, I went on a hike with some of my friends in a specific region of Bangladesh, which is my home country. I experienced that region's culture, tradition, building forms, and construction methods. The experience intrigued me to ask a question: what is culture in the global society? Culture is the characteristics and knowledge of a particular group of people, including language, religion, cuisine, social habits, music, and arts. Basically, it is the identity. It plans the nation's history, it shapes the nation's culture, and provides continuity, stability, and solidarity in the global platform. So can we forget our culture, tradition, or even our identity? This inspired me to choose this topic. So what is vernacular? Vernacular is the language of a specific region that expresses the locality of that area through their culture, tradition, society, and people. These traditions and cultures can be reflected through the designing and constructing of buildings, which expresses its architecture. This type of traditional building construction results from a logical adaptation of local conditions, which is a way to address human needs and seems to be largely forgotten in modern day architecture. Over the time, how many traditional buildings have been lost from a community or a place? Just think about it. In addition, how does the traditional and cultural building respond to a particular condition that affects the people and places of all regions? To answer these questions, my research explores the current conditions of traditional buildings in Bangladesh and observes their existing role in the society and community. In the bigger picture, why there is a need for the modern building practices to learn from the traditional one. You can see these pictures. Left one is the traditional building and right one is the National Assembly building in Bangladesh, which is a modern building. In the era of rapid technological advancement and massive construction, there is still much to learn from the cumulative knowledge embedded in traditional building structures. Additionally, there is a need to expand and discover more about this neglected part of architecture and address to the world about its creativity and ethnicity. So the idea of neo-vernacular is a combination of both, synthesis of existing and new. It evolves with modern advancement by respecting the culture and tradition. In my research, some of my design strategies will be by bringing the essence of local and emphasizing the spirit of the place, both in visual and social terms, focusing on sustainability while using modern building techniques, new material technologies, and environmental designing methods. In this way, my research puts together different traditional and modern strategies into the design, which will not only increase the quality of life in the community, but also significantly enhance the cultural values in the global platform. Thank you.
Thank you. That was great. So our next presenter, Monica, is also, strangely enough, we got a lot of chemistry and biochemistry students this year, but from the Department of Chemistry and Biochemistry. Her advisors are Rick Page and Dominic Konkolowitz. She has lots of favorite restaurants in Oxford, including Krishna and Papa John's, and she's going to talk to us about biofuel production. So please welcome Monica.
Do you like eating fries from McDonald's or from cafeteria? That's true. We all like eating fries from there. Have you ever thought what happens to the cooking oil that is used for your fries? Each day, McDonald's is producing tons of cooking oil, and it's kind of difficult to get rid of those oil. But what if I tell you I can give biofuel from that cooking oil? Today, the shortage of petroleum oil has become more and more apparent. In such scenario, biofuel has become the fastest growing alternatives because of its many advantages. One of the many reasons why we need biofuel is that biofuel can be used in today's engines, vehicles, and infrastructures without the need of any kind of changes. Biofuel can be stored, burned, and pumped in the same way as petroleum oil, thus providing certain advantages in the fuel economy. Moreover, burning of biofuel produces fewer air pollutants like particulates and carbon monoxide. Therefore, we can also get environmental benefits from biofuel in the 21st century as well. The most environmental friendly way of making biofuel is to mix cooking oil with an enzyme called lipase. We might wonder, what is this enzyme lipase? So enzyme lipases are living substances that facilitate the conversion of cooking oil to biofuel. However, even though the process is environmental friendly, it comes with certain disadvantages. The industrial production of biofuel is often carried out in presence of harsh conditions, like extreme temperature or in presence of strong chemicals. Just consider ourselves as microorganisms. Can we live in that condition? No, definitely not. So how can that microorganism can? In my research work, I aims to put my lipase enzyme in a cage of polymer to protect it from harsh conditions. So what are these polymers? Polymers are long chains made up of repetitive subunits that wrap around the enzyme. So the polymer can act as a protective shield to the enzyme in a way that the enzyme can act well for a prolonged period of time and can efficiently convert cooking oil to biofuel. I have shown that certain polymer can enhance the functionality and stability of lipase enzymes significantly, particularly in harsh conditions like in presence of extreme temperature or strong chemicals that are encountered in industry. So my polymer modified enzyme can efficiently convert cooking oil to biofuel in industry. Don't you think this is really awesome? Thank you.
Thank you. That was wonderful. Our next presenter is also, strangely enough, from the Department of Chemistry and Biochemistry. His advisor is Neil Danielson. He's a third-year master's student in analytical chemistry. And right now he's presenting some of his dissertation work. So please help me welcome Charles.
When you're going to drink water every day, have you think about this question? Is the water we drink really safe? The answer is not really. Because there is a notorious contaminant named perfluoroalkanoic acid, as known as PFOA, has been widely exists in our surface water system. Since 1950s, Minnesota Free Company developed this special chemical. It has been widely used in multiple industrial manufacturers, including non-stick cookwares, carpets, textiles, and most importantly, firefighting foams. All because of the extremely high stability of PFOA. Once PFOA has been generated, it will no longer be degraded, which means if somebody ingests it, it will take a long period of time or even impossible to get rid of it from body. Why we want to care about these compounds? More and more studies have shown that PFOA can cause a lot of negative health effects, including cancer, obesity, immune suppression, and many other related diseases. In my study, I'm going to remove this contaminant. I designed a novel and efficient material. This design is based on a solvent that used to extract numerous industrial solvents, such as methanol, ethanol from wastewater. After applying a chemical reactions, I can design my material. And this material will have a better, much better PFOA absorption ability. To evaluate this ability, I use an instrument called HPLC, which is high performance liquid chromatography. Here's how it works. I make a PFOA solution to mimic the environmental water, and I purge this solution to the solvent column, which is already packed with my material. At the first beginning, because all PFOA will be retained in this columns, and only water will go to the detector. At this time, the detector will have no response. And when the solvent becomes gradually saturated by PFOA, we can see a signal increase. And this HPLC graph can use as a benchmark to evaluate any PFOA solvents. We want to see if the signal increase can be as late as possible, which represents a better solvent. By comparing the HPLC graph of our solvents with any other conventional material used for PFOA absorption, we can say our solvents has a much greater PFOA affinity. And this material can be prevalently used in household or industrial water treatment. This is a brief of my study. Thank you.
Thank you, Charles. That was really interesting. We have, we also, like I said before, tried to build the skill set of our graduate students by offering programming to help them communicate with non-specialists. And one of those signature programs is called Red Hawk Talks. And so the nice thing is they get into a cohort and they learn on the skills of telling a story and then crafting it together. And how do you be concise? How can you tell your message on video, connect with that camera so that you can have a TED Talk or TED style talk to share in the future? And one of our first participants in our first cohort is our next presenter. So he was a Red Hawk Talk participant. He's also a third-year student, go figure, in chemistry and biochemistry. He loves photography. You should check out his Instagram, really impressive. He's had 3 publications from 2020. His advisor, again, Dominic Konkalowitz. Please welcome Obed.
Have you ever dealt with the disappointment of having a punctured car tire leave you stranded on the roadside? How about dealing with a first scratch on your car or freshly painted wall? Well, all of that is about to change thanks to the advancement of self-healing polymers. How is this so? In a typical classroom or office space, if you remove metals, ceramics, air, and water, just about everything else is a polymer. This means we are often surrounded by polymers. One may then ask, what are polymers? From a chemistry perspective, polymers are made up of small repeating units called monomers, which are linked together to form this large entity we call a polymer. To understand this better, think about a necklace or a chain. It best describes what a polymer looks like. A chain is a serial assembly of interconnected pieces called links. Think of each link as a monomer and the full chain as a polymer. Typically, when a polymer material is damaged, the material becomes practically useless because the damage incurred is permanent. And this highlights the need for self-healing polymers. My research focuses on developing polymer chains that have reusable links. This means when the resulting polymer is damaged, the broken chain links are efficiently reformed, thereby healing the damage that is incurred. In this case, a fractured or damaged polymer does not become useless because it does have the ability to heal itself by regenerating the links that are broken. During mechanical testing, we observed that a healed polymer is pulled apart with the intention of breaking it. When we do this, the previously damaged area does not break. Instead, the material actually breaks in another position. This implies that the healed area does not only get healed, it also becomes stronger. What does this mean for everyday polymer users like you and me? This research introduces an opportunity to make our lives easier and the materials around us more sustainable. Think about this for a moment. If you do not need to throw an item away, for example, say your broken eyeglass frame, and it happens to have a longer lifespan due to self-healing technology, this leads to a smaller drain on your resources, and that in itself is a huge benefit even to the environment. And when this technology becomes fully implemented in your car tire will be capable of healing itself in the event of a puncture. The scratch on your freshly painted wall can be able to repair itself, and even the cheap paint on your car will have the capacity to heal itself. This list of possibilities goes on. That said, the exciting promise of self-healing polymers cannot be overemphasized. Thank you.
Thank you, Obed. Wonderful job. Our next presenter is not from chemistry and biochemistry. We have a student who's a fourth-year student in biology. Her advisor is Dawn Blitz, also known as the Crab Lab in Pearson Hall. She's a fourth-year student, but most importantly, she's connected with the graduate school before. She was a poster presenter winner in 2019 at our graduate research forum in November. So please help me welcome Savanna-Rae.
As a singer, I need to be able to coordinate breathing and singing together to sing the right notes at the right time. Solitario spirito, che muoio toi sospiri. Our ability to breathe, sing, walk, and think depends on different groups of neurons called networks. Much like a collection of music notes creates a melody, a network of neurons generates a collection of signals that create patterns of activity driving a particular behavior, such as breathing. Now, these networks are highly flexible. They change their activity patterns as we go about our daily lives, and they can even interact with one another so that we can carry out multiple behaviors simultaneously, like breathing and singing. I use the central nervous system of the crab to study the interactions between two neural networks. This animal model has only 30 neurons that make up both of these networks, making it easy to monitor and manipulate neural activity. And crab neurons utilize the same components as mammalian neurons to produce their activity patterns. So I can apply my discoveries in the crab to larger, more complex nervous systems. Now, I mentioned that these networks are flexible, but how? One way goes like this. Modulatory neurons upstream from a network release substances that alter or modulate network activity and therefore overall behavior. For instance, let's say that the red neurons on the left represent neurons for breathing, and they generate a red activity pattern. And the blue circle represents a neuron for singing. It's not active when I'm not singing, but if I start to sing, a modulatory neuron on the right will turn on and release substances to signal a breathing neuron now participate in both breathing and singing, generating a red and blue pattern corresponding to each behavior. My goal is to determine the processes that enable a network neuron to participate in multiple networks simultaneously. Thus far, I have found in the crab that this switch to a dual red-blue role of network participation can be due to modulation of a neuron's own components, meaning that a neuron's own flexibility can enable it to participate in multiple networks simultaneously, rather than this neuron relying on connections with neurons from other networks to pull it into participating with other rhythms. My research will help to answer big picture questions like, how do we switch our attention between different activities? And how does our brain coordinate multiple behaviors together? Understanding these processes will help us to better understand how our brains are capable of managing the many complex tasks that we accomplish daily. So if you're anything like me, the next time you belt out those high notes in the car, you can be sure to thank your brain for making even a mundane task like driving also be an entertaining. Thank you.
But thank you so much. Great job. So we asked our panelists, our students, what did they think they were going to do after the pandemic? And our next presenter actually said that she wants to go to Cedar Point. So if you're not familiar with Cedar Point, that is one of the amusement parks in Ohio. It's not too far away. It's a little bit over 3 hours away. But our graduate student, our next one, is a first-year master's student in biology. Her advisor is Paul Schaefer. She studies prairie voles and the heart functions of them. So if you could please help me welcome Caroline.
Did you know that heart disease is the #1 cause of death globally? And by 2030, the amount of deaths due to heart failure in the United States is expected to increase by 46%. I'm trying to better understand how the heart functions to better understand heart failure to save lives. So I wanted to start you all off with a question. What do an athlete, a pregnant woman, and a snake have in common? No, I'm not making a joke about their mood. It's that they have a large heart, and that's what my research is all about. I'm studying a process called hypertrophy, which means enlargement of an organ, and we see this in two forms, physiological and pathological. Physiological hypertrophy means it's a more normal process that happens in the body, and we see this in people like athletes. During their on-season, they need to get more blood and more oxygen through their body, so their heart will get larger, and to support a larger heart, the walls will thicken. So per pump, the heart can get more blood and more oxygen through the body. We also see this in pregnant women during the 9 months that they're pregnant because they need to support their own life plus the life of their child. And interestingly, we also see this in snakes during digestion because this workload is so great on their body. The thing about physiological hypertrophy is that it is reversible. So when the athlete is not in their, or is in their off season, or the woman is no longer pregnant, the heart returns to a normal size. The other type of hypertrophy we see is pathological, meaning disease. And we see this in people with hypertension and other forms of heart disease. In pathological hypertrophy, the heart enlarges, but the walls of the heart remain thin, and this is not sustainable. And the thing about pathological hypertrophy is that it is not reversible. In my research, we've noticed that in prairie voles and other small mammals, their heart is significantly larger in winter than it is in summer. We think this is due to the fact that in winter, the body has to work so much harder to stay warm, and so the heart will hypertrophy to compensate for that workload, while in summer, the body does not need to work as hard and the heart will return to a normal size. We think this process of the heart hypertrophying and returning to a normal size is similar to physiological hypertrophy because it is reversible, but we don't yet know if the heart shows any signs of damage because of this great workload on the body, making it more similar to pathological hypertrophy, and we don't yet know about the thickness of the walls of the heart. So starting next week, I'll be collecting my voles that have been outside all winter, and I'll be looking at their hearts. And then this summer, I'll have another set of voles to compare to the winter hearts. And we're going to try and see whether this hypertrophy is physiological, pathological, or potentially another type of hypertrophy. It's so important to us to be doing this research to understand how the heart hypertrophies and returns to a normal size so we can reverse the irreversible hypertrophy occurring in people with heart disease. Thank you.
Thank you. That was so interesting. Well, our next student not only did his undergrad, master's, he is now pursuing doctoral education, the trifecta of Miami degrees here in Oxford. So our next student is a first-year student in social gerontology. Advisor is Scott Brown. Please help me welcome our final finalist, Heshuo.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome. Today's presentation is about length of stay in hospice care between races, ethnicities over 65 years of age in the United States. These pictures on my slide are about my internship experiences in a hospice agency during summer 2019. It inspired me to further study the topic of hospice. So what is hospice? Hospice is provided to people whose life expectancy is 6 months or less. It manages the medical, psychological, social, and spiritual aspects of end-of-life care, as well as team management. Length of hospice stay means the time available to deliver appropriate and needed services for clients during the late stage of life. We can consider it as an indicator to measure the quality of hospice services. Most research found longer hospice stays are related to adverse outcomes for clients, such as higher expenses, lower visit intensity, and less skilled visits regardless of diagnosis. This research asks Do minorities stay longer in hospice care than whites? There were 3,918 participants. On average, African Americans stayed 139.7 days in hospice. The days for whites were 74.8 days for Hispanics, and 71.6 days for other races. African Americans stayed 1.71 times longer in hospice than whites when considering other relevant factors. Female gender, older age, and several diseases like heart disease, dementia, mental disorder, and respiratory disease are related to longer hospice stay lengths. The possible reasons for longer lengths of stay among African Americans may be because of primary diagnosis. African Americans have a smaller number of cancer diagnoses, but a greater variety of chronic diagnoses than whites and Hispanics. Since longer stay is not equal to high quality hospice care, learning more about extended hospice stay and monitoring inequalities in end-of-life experiences within African American community matters. We also need to further study length of hospice stay within other minority populations like Asian Americans, Native Americans, and multiracial Americans. Thanks for listening.
And then we had you guys as an audience vote for the People's Choice one, which is $1,000. And this one goes to Anindita from Architecture and Interior Design. Her advisor is John Reynolds. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Wonderful job. Yay. I'm the only clap you get to hear. Yay. Great job. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Again, in third place, that comes with a $500 prize. We have from the Department of Chemistry and Biochemistry. That does not narrow it down, does it? We have Charles. His advisor is Neil Danielson. Congratulations, Charles.
Thank you. I'm very pleased to run it. Thank you. Thank you, Judge.
Great job, Charles.
You're all doing a great job tonight. I'm so just a little bit shocked and out of my expected, but thank you so much.
You're welcome. Great job, Charles. All right, our second place, also from Chemistry and Biochemistry, advisor Dominic Konkalowitz is Obed.
Thank you so much, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Excellent job. Thank you. And our first place, so our second place got $750. Our first place, $1,000, and name will be transferred on to our regional competition. From the Department of Biology, Caroline, congratulations.
Thank you. That's exciting.
Yes. Congratulations. Excellent, excellent job. All right. So thank you, all of our finalists. Thank you again, our judges and our graduate school staff. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out and staying with us all the way to the end. And congratulations again, all of our finalists and our top 3 in People's Choice Awards. Thank you all for joining us. Have a great night.